The topics that we cover in this particular series are the ones which are appearing in daily newspapers, how they can be beneficial for you to increase your knowledge, plus understand the topic and use these in any answer or any discussions or any other interview. Let us start with today's topics. First topic is Southwest monsoon and positive Indian Ocean dipole. Second topic is regarding India making rapid strides in intellectual property rights. Third is science behind magnetic resonance imaging technology, part of GS3. And fourth is the electric vehicles, why they are at heart of the China-EU talk that is currently going on. So southwest monsoon is likely to get boost from positive Indian Ocean dipole this year. So positive Indian dipole, or it is also called as an Indian Nino. So that is going to affect it. It's a climatic pattern. When we talk about it, it's a climatic pattern that affects the Indian Ocean primarily. During a positive phase, warm waters are pushed to the western part of the Indian Ocean. You see, this is the Indian geography. So this one is the Eastern Indian Ocean. This is the Western Indian Ocean. So when the warmer waters are in the western side of the Indian Ocean, then the winds actually, because there will be more low pressure area in this particular region. So once the low pressure area is in this region, what will happen is the monsoon wind actually will be positively affected to come to this side. So when the monsoon winds are positively affected and coming to this side, then actually it creates another favorable situation for the Indian monsoon. So this Indian Ocean dipole is going to affect the southwest monsoon that is supposed to bring rain to the country between July to September period. Positive Indian dipole or Indian Nino, a climatic pattern that results in the irregular oscillation of the sea surface temperatures in the Indian Ocean, may re-emerge from the second consecutive year in the latter half of the 2024. So the chances are it will emerge again in the latter half of 2024. A positive Indian dipole can boost the performance of India's southwest monsoon depending on when it develops. For example, in 2019, a strong Indian Ocean dipole event that developed during the late monsoon season compensated for a 30% deficit in the rainfall that time. Along with atmospheric indicators, the model outlook indicates a positive Indian Ocean dipole. Indian Ocean Dipole Index for the week ending April 28 was positive 0.68 degrees centigrade above the positive Indian Ocean threshold of 0.4 degrees centigrade, and this is the seventh week above the positive Indian Ocean dipole threshold. It is for the first time since 1960 that the event is reoccurring for a second consecutive year after record keeping began. Despite Indian Ocean dipole, the Indian monsoon was rain deficient last year. Had it not been a positive Indian dipole last year, it could have been a very big situation of the drought and rain deficiency. This was so the Indian monsoon was rain deficient last year because of the emergence of the El Nino, which resulted in the prolonged dry periods and drought in Asia, particularly India, in June 2023. Indian Ocean dipole is less powerful than El Nino, and hence, during such an event, the El Nino's impact is higher and the Indian Ocean dipole effect is lower. Indian Ocean dipole and the El Nino actually then uh, caused Indian Ocean dipole, favorable Indian Ocean dipole even could not brought rainfall to the degree that we wanted, and that affected the agriculture sector with food grain production in 2023-2024 crop year to June estimated 6% lower at 309.34 million tons. With La Nina predicted to emerge during June to August this year, the development of Indian Ocean dipole will likely boost the Indian agriculture sector. It is also likely to recharge reservoirs and other water resources as well. When we talk about the second topic is India making rapid strides in intellectual property rights. India crossed a major milestone in the intellectual property right by journey by granting over 1 lakh patent. So India granted 1 lakh patent in 2023-2024. This marks a big moment for its innovation and in knowledge sector. Till as recently, India used to grant less than 10,000 patents annually. This figure rose to 34,000 in 2022-23, but it has jumped to 1,03,037 in the latest year of 2023-2024. The grants are now greater than filing and helps clear backlog as well. So there may be a lot of backlog that is also being cleared. This improvement is on the account of various factors, including a special push to clear pending applications. That is, I told you. Second is bolstering manpower, process reforms, digital infrastructure, and administration streamlining. So, administrative streamlining, infrastructure upgradation, process reforms, bolstering manpower, and clearing pending appeals are all the reasons behind this particular jump in the patent approval. Many of the reforms that were highlighted actually are also in the process of implementation. Along with the patent grants, the number of patent applications have also been steadily rising. They increased from around 45,000 to 92,000 in 2023. It is also significant to note that there is an increased participation of domestic innovators now in this journey of India's domestic intellectual property rights. Earlier, applications used to be dominated by multinational corporations merely extending their foreign patents into India. The share of the patent application by residents rose from 29% to 56%. So from 29, we have taken it to 56%. So the domestic innovators are actually, bringing more. Although India's recent performance is commendable, the number of patent grant is still far below 3 lakh patent granted in the US. US grants around 3 times of us, and China granted 7 lakh patents in 2022 and 2023 period. China's number is admittedly exaggerated by low quality utility patents, but the sheer scale of innovation effect is impressive. Meanwhile, there has also been progress in case of copyrights. Filing and registration of copyrights have witnessed significant growth, increasing from 16,000 to some 16,000 filings and 3,596 registration to somewhere around 36,000 and 38,000 respectively. Nevertheless, despite the impressive growth, India still lags very far behind the global peers because US, for example, registered over 4 lakh copyrights in 2023. If we compare to India, it is only 38,000 or 36,000 only. India has been historically strong in trademarks and it has risen to the third place in terms of trademark registrations, trailing it only behind US and China. So the filings rose from 2.78 lakhs to about 4.3 lakhs in 2021-2022. Registration seems to have a bit stagnated. Trademark registration have ranged between 2,50,000 and 3 lakh annually since 2016-17. A key reason for this is the shortage of manpower. When we talk about when we talk about the available figures, India has only 164 people employed in the trademark office as opposed to 718 people who are there in the US. And this has led to the buildup of the pending application of trademarks. At the end of 2023-2024, 3.8 lakh applications were pending at examiner or senior examiner level, and 2.17 lakh applications were pending at registrar level. So addressing the issue of manpower is why crucial for making any improvement in this particular area. Improvement in IT infrastructure and a streamlining of administrative process is also important. Some efforts in this direction are already going on. Rules and regulations need to be updated. The recent amendment to patent rules of 2003 have modified the pre-grant and post-grant opposition procedures, fixed timeline for various steps, and reduced compliance burdens for the applications. A new provision of certificate of inventorship has also been introduced to provide recognition to the inventors. In order to promote copyright filings, there needs to be similar updating of the provisions of copyright law. Second, recruitment process of about 550 examiners is also underway, and the hiring schedule further need to envisages recruitment of further people. Even after rounds of hiring, the Indian Patent Office will have headcount of 1960 compared to 8,568 in US and close to 13,000 in China. So manpower increase is a definite need of the hour. Then comes similarly, the trademark department needs to increase its headcount, starting with filling up existing vacancies. The physical and digital infrastructure also needs to be upgraded urgently to accommodate the expansion. Even artificial intelligence search engines and in-house servers, office infrastructure, and the country's overall IPR ecosystem need urgent investment. In case the cost of this expansion is also, but note that the IPR system contributes directly to the government revenue even without considering the wider impact on the economy. The positive shift in India's IPR ecosystem is reflected in the country's improvement in the rank of its Global Innovation Index, where it has moved up from 66th place to 40th place in 2023. And this poses also a greater level of uplift to the economy. We now move on to the third one, and that is understanding the science behind magnetic resonance imaging technology. MRI scans, the use cases are these are to obtain images of soft tissues within the body. It is a non-invasive diagnostic procedure that is widely used to image the brain, the spinal cord, the cardiovascular system, joints, various muscles, liver, and arteries. So magnetic resonance imaging technology that is why very important. Its use is particularly important in the observation and treatment. So in what? Observation and treatment of certain cancers, including prostate cancers, rectal cancers, and to track neurological conditions like Alzheimer's, dementia, epilepsy, stroke, among other things. Because of MRI's technique use of strong magnetic fields, individuals with embedded metallic objects and metallic implants, including pacemakers, may not be able to undergo MRI scans. So, how does this MRI work? An MRI procedure reveals an image of a body part using the hydrogen atoms in that particular part. A hydrogen atom is simply one proton with one electron around it. These atoms are all spinning with axes pointing in random directions. Hydrogen atoms are abundant in fat and water, which are present almost throughout our body. An MRI machine has four essential components. The machine itself looks like a gigantic duck nut. The hole in the center is called bore, is where the person whose body is to be scanned is inserted. Inside the duck nut is a powerful superconducting magnet. There is a powerful superconducting magnet, and what it does is it produces a powerful and stable magnetic field around the body. Once the body part to be scanned is at the center of that bore, the magnetic field is switched on. Then each hydrogen atom has a powerful magnetic moment, which means that in the presence of the magnetic field, the atom's spin axis will point along the field direction. The superconducting magnet applies a magnetic field down the center of the machine, such as the axis of roughly half of the hydrogen atoms in that part which are to be scanned. That is now pointing in one way, and the other half are pointing the other way. So this matching is almost exact. In around a million atoms, only a handful remains unmatched, and that is a small population of excess atoms pointing one way or the other. Then comes the machine's third component, and machine third component is a device that emits a radio frequency pulse at the part under the scanner. When the pulse is on, only the small population of excess atoms emit the absorbed. So when the pulse is on, only the small population of excess atoms absorb the radiation and get excited. Once the pulse goes off, these atoms emit the absorbed energy and return to their original state, lowering the energy states. So the frequency of the pulse the excess atoms have to absorb is called the Larmor frequency. Its value depends on the strength of the magnetic field and the type of tissue in which the atoms are present. Then comes the fourth and final part, and that is the detector that receives the emissions and converts them to signals, which are sent to the computer that uses them to create two or three dimensional to create three or two-dimensional images of that part of the body. After the big powerful magnetic field comes on, the MRI machine activates three magnets that produce smaller magnetic fields that are weaker than the main field by about 80 times. So these fields also have a gradient, that is, they are not uniform. These fields interfere with the main field at the part of the part that is to be scanned, such as resulting field highlights very specific portions. So this is the part of the MRI scans and what is behind the MRI technology. Then comes the fourth one, and that is why the EVs lie at the heart of the trade friction between China and Europe. As you know, that Chinese President Xi Jinping is on a European tour of 3 countries in which he has visited France. He is on a European visit, and why the European visit is important because there are now trade friction emerging and the charges of overcapacity on China. The larger picture of this will be clear once he visits all 3 countries, but we will be talking why the EVs lie at the heart. Chinese exports to the European markets are significantly outweighing European exports to mainland China. The European Union has complained that unfair market access is a key reason for this particular situation. China's car shipments to foreign markets and to the European Union in particular have surged in recent years. Last year, the European Union opened an investigation into subsidies that went into Chinese electronic vehicles, which Beijing announced as an example of the naked protectionism. Brussels also has opened separate investigations that could limit Chinese solar exports to the European Union and has put restrictions on imports of wind turbines and medical devices. Ahead of the President Xi's visit, the European Commission told 3 big Chinese electric vehicle makers that they had failed to supply significantly sufficient information to anti-subsidy investigators. Should the EC conclude that BYD, the Chinese companies, actually had not provided all the facts, it could use facts available elsewhere to compute tariffs, which could potentially inflate duties on imports of these vehicles into the EU. That is why it is significant. This is significant because the EU used the first facts available in the 10 previous anti-subsidy cases against China to fill in certain gaps, which allow Brussels a free hand to impose higher duties. The investigations launched by EC President coincide with the declining exposure in China for European companies, including car makers of Germany and Renault of France. Beijing, on its part, has launched its own anti-dumping investigations into imports of European brandy, a measure against France, which is said to have lobbied for the EV probe. So the fear of Chinese flood. China-made EVs are projected to make up more than a quarter of all EV sales in Europe in 2024, with the country's share in the market increasing by more than 5 percentage points from a year earlier. According to the Brussels-based European Federation for Transport and Environment, an umbrella entity for non-government organizations in the field of transport and environment, nearly 20% of battery-powered EVs are sold in the EU last year were from China. In France and Spain, close to a third of all EVs sold were shipped from China. The share of China-made vehicles could rise to more than 25% in 2024, according to the reports in the European Union. The majority of the foreign electric vehicles currently sold in the EU are from Western brands such as Tesla, which manufactures and ships from factories in China. That's why the EVs are at the heart of the trade friction between China and Europe. If you feel that we were able to deliver some good quality content, you can like and share our YouTube channel. Thank you.
For more such videos, you can like the button and subscribe the channel. Thank you.